This is going to be absolutely therapeutic for me. I hope you guys are ready for the ride. Holy shit. Like, this is why the federal government and Congress in general has a lower approval rating than herpes. This is just disgusting. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that our government still acts like children. And I have several things that we're going to break down in this. We're going to go over it. This is the Hakeem Jeffries. So the Senate or the House Minority Speaker, whatever the hell he is, and it just the rhetoric and the way he's saying it and the way that they're doing it. One, it doesn't make any sense, and two, it paints the picture of where we're actually at as a country. This is exactly where we're at as a country, and that's part of the reason why we're at this place in our country. And it's just disgusting. It's disgusting, and it pisses me off. And you know what? Okay, so people will call me an extreme MAGA Republican. I don't think I'm really that fucking extreme. I really don't think I'm at extreme. I think I'm more moderate or more centrist than most people will ever give me credit for. But yes, I support Donald John Trump. Kiss my ass. No, I want this here. Fuck him. I am so sick of this stupid bullshit over and over again that I just, we have to go through it. We'll break it down. I'm going to lose it probably 600 times during this 24 minutes or 25 minutes, whatever it is. This is just asinine. And this is just, again, this is just throwing it back in our faces, saying, you're not good enough. We don't give a shit. And I don't care about the people of the United States. I care about my power, and I care about what I'm going to put forward. And I'm so sick of this rhetoric, the way that it's being done. We'll get into it.
Good afternoon, everyone. In a matter of 24 hours, we went from extreme MAGA Republicans breaking their agreement with President.
We start the fucking speech with extreme MAGA Republicans. What the hell does that even mean? What does that mean? So we're not on the same team? We're not on the neocons? We're not rhinos? So we have to be excluded from our government? I don't think in any stretch of the imagination that's even remotely reasonable to assume that we should be excluded from our government just because we support a different person. We're still members of this country. There's, what, 80 million of us? Bullshit.
President Joe Biden and the American people to putting a bill on the House floor with devastating cuts that would have undermined the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people.
Let me tell you a secret here, asshole. The health is gone because our insurance system sucks. The safety, we have no safety anymore because law and order is gone. Our border's wide open, and everything that could happen is happening because you guys won't do your job. And the economics of this country, people can't even afford to go grocery shopping to get food. The economics have blown so far out of proportion, and all you want to do is march to the beat of that drum, that war drum. Let's go. You'll hear it over and over and over again in here about Ukraine and Ukraine and Ukraine and Ukraine. I don't give a flying damn about Ukraine. I don't care one bit about Ukraine. There are problems here. We need to fix them.
Including, in many categories, 30% or more, cut from incredibly important programs like public education, providing food to women, infants, and children, ensuring that Social Security recipients could address any interruptions with the.
There was going to be no Social Security interruptions. This is the live fact check. Thank you. And maybe if you didn't have people on the government plantation relying on the government as their only means of getting food and other things that they need to live their life, then maybe that's the problem. Maybe personal accountability. Maybe people taking care of themselves and not relying on government daddy. Government me harder, daddy. Maybe that's where we need to go with this, you think? Because we keep getting to these shutdowns and it's the end of the world. We're never going to make it. We're blah, blah, blah. Well, that's a problem because the United States government, the federal government, was never instituted to be daddy. It was never instituted to be your babysitter or your provider. It was for safety. That's it. They don't even do that well anymore.
The checks that they need. We went from devastating cuts that would have impacted the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people in 24 hours to a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people across the board.
Absolutely, Jacob.
Entirely consistent with what Democrats
100%.
have said from the very beginning is the only path forward. A bipartisan spending agreement that keeps government open, avoids a catastrophic government shutdown, and meets the needs of the American people in every possible way.
I am the American people, and none of my needs were met with this bill, with this continuing resolution that goes 45 days so you guys can play this whole drama out again. And the Senate still hasn't voted to approve this, so I don't know why they're up here spiking the football. They haven't even held a vote. Well, let's drag it on a little bit longer. Let's make it a little bit more ridiculous. So this is all gamesmanship. This is all political theater, and I, for one, am tired of it. You're sent there to do a job. Your job is the budget. It should never come down to 5 hours before the budget expires. That should never be the case when that's your one job. That is your job in Congress, is to establish the budget, the power of the purse. We hear it all the time when it's shit you don't want.
We said from the beginning.
Apparently, from last I've heard, is that the Senate was not going to take it up to vote on it. So, essentially, it's passed. If they're not going to vote on it, then yeah, it's not going to pass. It's failed to pass, excuse me. I'm just losing my shit. We're only like 2 minutes in, and I've already said more than he has.
That we were going to protect Social Security, protect Medicare, protect Medicaid, protect public education, protect public safety, protect those individuals who secure us all across the land, protect veterans, protect our ability to continue to combat the climate crisis, protect the economy.
Yeah, let's protect the climate crisis. Whether you believe in it or not, it's so far up. There are so many pressing, urgent concerns that take precedence over a climate crisis that is hundreds of years out. Okay, so we need to do it now or we can't fix anything. We're not going to change it tomorrow, no matter how many trillions you throw at it. There's no way in hell countries around the world are going to change it tomorrow. It's just, yeah, what economy? Our economy sucks.
And protect the ability of our government to provide for the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people.
Well, you failed.
And that is what the spending agreement that Democrats overwhelmingly supported on the floor of the House of Representatives accomplished today. We're on a path to avoid a catastrophic extreme MAGA Republican shutdown and to continue to meet the needs of the American people. The American people have won. The extreme MAGA Republicans have lost.
So you contradicted yourself right there because you said, you know, all the American people win in this bill, blah, 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 except for those extreme MAGA Republicans. So that's anybody who voted for Donald Trump. So that's 81 million people here in the United States. 81 million people. That wasn't good for me. I didn't approve or appreciate anything in this bill at all.
It was a victory for the American people and a complete and total surrender by right-wing extremists who throughout the year have tried to hijack the Congress. Moving forward,
aren't we in fucking control? Don't we have more seats in the House of Congress? So why should the Democrats get to win on shit? On anything in the House of Representatives if we have the majority? Because we have neocons and we have everybody that's up each other's ass. Because there's not two parties anymore. There's all of them, two of us, and the rest of the American people. And what they're doing doesn't serve any of our needs, even remotely.
we will continue to work in a bipartisan way to discuss a year-end spending agreement
Happy birthday,
consistent
Brian.
with our values,
Beautiful boy.
meeting the needs of the American people, solving problems on their behalf, and putting people over politics. That is what the spending agreement that passed the House floor today has accomplished. And moving forward, that will be our guiding principle in getting things done for the American people. It's now my honor to yield to Catherine Clark, the distinguished House Democratic Whip.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leader, for those comments and for leading our
Mr.
caucus
Leader?
and putting the American people's voice into this process. And of course, for your hour today, setting out the vision.
Brian, you're so damn humble. Happy birthday, buddy. You deserve it. I hope you have a great one.
That Democrats have and the contrast with the MAGA extremists. Today, Democrats have ensured that those interests, the American people, have won out over the demands of MAGA extremists.
Okay, she's going to say MAGA extremists like 6 more times in this 10 seconds she speaks. So even if, let's say, even if MAGA extremists were MAGA extremists, and they're so far removed from everything, and who the hell cares? Who cares? They still get a place in government. You still get a voice. Hey, what's up, Will Call? No problem. I had to get this off my chest. It's driving me shit crazy. But it's just insane how they can sit here and just gaslight so much. Extreme MAGA extremists shouldn't get a voice in government. Well, that seems pretty shitty because there's a lot of us. A lot of us. And we should get our equal say in government.
But only after months of Speaker McCarthy and the MAGA majority playing chicken with the lives and livelihoods of the American people. They have brought us to the edge of a needless shutdown, trying to blackmail the country into accepting their
Or are they trying to be fiscally responsible because our country is about to go completely down the shitter and they're trying to hang on to what last breath that we possibly could have to change things around because our spending is ridiculous. Our economy sucks. Our whole system is breaking right before our eyes, and they're trying to save some semblance of what was our nation. I appreciate it. Sorry for yelling. These people piss me off. I've been yelling this whole time just cause. So I should probably apologize too. But this was the most irritating thing I probably have ever watched to date. Exactly.
extreme right-wing agenda. And today, Democrats came to the rescue. Speaker McCarthy admitted defeat and asked Democrats to put out the fire that he and his party had started. We proved today The Democrats will continue to unify around our shared values. We
And
will
drive this
continue
country
to put
into
the
the ground.
concerns of the American people first, and we will not allow the twisted priorities of the MAGA Republicans to become law. As we move forward, as the leader said, we will continue to try and build a budget in a bipartisan way that will meet the needs of the American people and live up to the spending agreement that Kevin McCarthy has already agreed to back in June. And I call on Speaker McCarthy not to let the pro-Putin part of his conference win the day and bring a vote to the floor on assistance to Ukraine so we can continue to defend their democracy and our own. And with that, I yield to our amazing champion for our caucus chair, Pete Aguilar.
There you go. There's
Thank
a
you,
poll.
Clark. I want to start by thanking.
And let's, so if you don't, if I don't know if McConnell caved yet. Bullshit. Ukraine's first in every other country. They fucking hate America. Exactly. Everybody hates America. They just want the check to clear. They don't give a shit about us. They just want the check to clear. That's all they care about. That's all they're in this for. Absolutely. Absolutely, it's all by design. No, we don't want to. And yeah, if you're not for giving Ukraine ridiculous sums of money with no accountability, you're pro-Putin. Well, I guess I'm pro-Putin then. I think that this is all by design, and they're trying to infringe on Russia so that they have no other option but to attack. That's what I think. That's what I think. So yes, more on the side of Putin than I am this jackass.
Whip Clark and the floor team who helped guide our efforts and guide our success, what you saw here today, and to Leader Jeffries, who spoke so eloquently on the House floor about our shared values, but also about our path ahead and how difficult it has been that the MAGA extremism has permeated the Republican conference for so long.
Good.
And when the Democratic
It's going to get
caucus,
worse.
when I convened
We're
them
coming.
with Vice Chair Lieu, and we needed more time to read the text and to read the document, it was Whip Clark and Leader Jeffries who wanted to ensure that members had the time and the space to understand what was in this package. Because for the Democratic caucus, and this isn't the same for the Republican conference, the details matter. Helping people is why we come here. We want to make a difference in our communities. We want to help our communities.
Yeah, you want to build a bigger house on the corner.
We wanted to make sure that we got it right. And because of our actions and the unity of the Democratic caucus that you saw on full display here today, we were able to do just that. We were able to put the needs of the American public first. We were able to keep government open, protect our communities, ensure that service members were not asked to go
exactly,
to work
Mike.
without
Putin
getting a
is
paycheck.
kind of fucking based.
Those are the types of
recently.
things that we can
Let's
do
not lie about it.
because of our Democratic unity. So privileged.
Is he an
to be part
asshole?
of this
Yeah.
team and
Is
to
he
be a
based
member
as
of
shit
the
lately?
Democratic caucus
Yeah.
who helped deliver and put people over politics. Leader Jeffries.
Let me again, excuse me, thank Whip Clark and Chairman Aguilar for
These bastards are intentionally, and that's why I've said we have to keep our cool, we have to keep peaceful, we have to keep getting involved in local politics. We got to take it over from the ground up because they just want to keep on pouring gasoline on that fire. They want that fire to go off so they have a reason to persecute us further. They have a reason to demonize us further, and they want to just put us in the ground. They want to, hell, they'd probably deport us if they could. And that's what this is. This is McCarthyism. This is Red Scare, but the red happens to be MAGA this time.
for their tremendous leadership in holding the caucus together throughout this entire.
Oh, because the Republicans finally passed a spending bill, a stopgap 45-day spending bill to avert the shutdown. However, the last I saw, the Senate said that it would not take up the vote. So it doesn't make a damn bit of difference because it's not going to get voted on anyways. But they're already spiking the football in the end zone, trying to say they won.
Entire process as we've been battling extreme MAGA Republicans and their reckless effort to try to dramatically cut services for everyday Americans or shut down the government. And we were able to stop that from happening. And House Democrats stood together in that regard. And I thank Catherine and Pete for their tremendous leadership. Questions?
Are you concerned about the accusation that Congressman Jamal Bowman is accused of pulling a fire alarm
This is
in the
Rich.
Congressional office building? And what are the next steps here?
I haven't seen
I
the
agree.
video. Until I see the video, I'll have no further comment.
He has no further comment. Even though he's already been arrested, he has no comment.
Do you believe that
Yeah.
now that we've reached this point where the speaker was willing to buck against the conservative wing of
Mhm.
his party, that will then guide the appropriations process? You only have 45 days now to get all 12 of these bills passed. Do you believe that you're now in a space where those real negotiations can happen? Or are we going to go through this process all over again?
We aren't even getting started yet. We're just starting to get riled up. Like, you thought it was bad before. We will take every fucking office. We just won't stop. We are the patriots. We do love this country, and we're not going to let it go to hell. It is our fault, in part, because we've let it fall this far. It is. It is. It's our fault that we've been asleep at the wheel and let it go this far. But that stops now. It has to.
45 days from now.
From the very beginning of this Congress, House Democrats have made clear that we are ready, willing, and able to find common ground with our Republican colleagues whenever and wherever possible to advance the needs of the American people. But we will also
Oh, I know, but this has got to be our focus now. We have to match the energy of, and honestly, it shouldn't be too hard. Like, if we put our mind to it, I think we'll be all right. But we have to match the energy of these fucking Kool-Aid hair lunatics, and do something about it.
at the same time continue to combat Republican extremism whenever necessary. Over the next 45 days, we're going to have to work together in a collaborative fashion to make sure that we avoid another government shutdown drama, that the extreme MAGA Republicans will continue to try to visit upon the American people, and at the same time, make sure that we put the national security needs of the American people ahead of the extreme MAGA Republican pro-Putin caucus. Sooner rather than later, it's important in order to lift up the national security needs of the American people.
Because if you don't want our young men and women and people all over this great nation to die due to a nuclear war because we finally pissed Putin off enough to hit the button, then you're a pro-Putin extremist, which makes you a traitor, which makes you so that's what's coming next. So get ready.
And ensure that America's place in the free world will continue. And we've experienced great leadership from President Biden in that regard. As Catherine Clark mentioned, we need.
Hang on. I got a clip for this one. Where the hell did it go?
999.
To address the security situation in Ukraine to ensure that the Ukrainian people can continue to fight bravely and courageously and defeat Vladimir Putin and Russian aggression. It's important for democracy. It's important for the principle of freedom. It's important for truth. It's important for NATO.
Oh, it's kind of ongoing,
And
Patrick.
extreme
But
MAGA
go back.
Republicans will have an
It's been pretty
opportunity
good.
over the next few days
Hell yeah.
to put the American people and our national.
Anything's better than these assholes at this point. I'd rather take anarchy over these assholes. At least then we'd be in control.
Security interests first, and the extreme MAGA Republican pro-Putin caucus last.
Leader Jeffries, quick question, Eric Garcia with the Independent. This is the second time that Democrats have had to bail out Speaker McCarthy and House Republicans on spending things, first with the debt limit and now with this. How confident are you that in the future you can negotiate in good faith with Speaker McCarthy and the Republican conference when it comes to now that these next 45 days you have to get these spending bills across the finish line?
Well,
And that's exactly, you can hear it in the question. Why have you've had to bail out Speaker McCarthy twice now? You can hear it in the question from mainstream media. They're all on the same damn team. And that's not a way you ask a question. That's not a way you get an answer. It's so disgusting that our political leaders are up here doing that, taking questions from controlled reporters. They're all on the same team, and they're against us, and we're not on the damn thing.
Democrats are going to continue to put the needs of the American people first and to work in a bipartisan way with our colleagues in the Senate, as well as with President Biden. And it's our hope that the traditional Republicans will finally take their party back from the extremists who have hijacked this Congress from the very beginning of this new Republican majority. And time and
Yeah, and again, it's a Republican majority, so you have nothing to do but sit there and say thank you. You don't get to lead, Hakeem. You don't get to still get your way. That's why the people voted, and the people's voices said, we don't want any more of this shit. And you guys still run it like it's your show. I think this is what you're talking about, Dance. Then went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and the fire out of his mouth. Devoured coals were kindled by it. Is that what you're talking about? It looks like there's a second half of it. I'll read the whole thing later, but I just wanted to make sure I had the right one.
time again, House Democrats have had to come to the rescue
Oh, send it to me
to
then,
push
please.
back against the extremists and to ensure that we're doing the right thing for the American people. And that is what we'll continue to do. Let me yield to Catherine and Pete to answer that question as well.
I'll just tell you, and both of these questions have been a little bit about.
And let me yield, because they're so out of touch, they can't even get out of their own fucking playhouse theory, where they just sit there and they talk about, oh, let me yield. Nobody talks like that. You only talk like that because you're in a set. You play a character. You're an actor. And that's all there is to it. You're an actor. And you just continue on with your lines. Extreme MAGA Republican. Let me yield. Da-da-da. Oh, President Biden's so great. You know damn well President Biden's not great. Let's start agreeing on the things that we can all see with our own eyes. That's a good start.
The appropriations process, and it's our hope. I echo what the leader
Oh, okay,
said. It
that's
is our hope that we can work in a bipartisan process. What we have seen is that no spending bills will happen without Democratic support. It should be an opportunity to work together to encourage the Appropriations Committee to come together and to put out bipartisan bills. But that would mean that
Isn't that exactly what you're talking about? Isn't that extremism? We're not gonna vote for anything unless you get our input and do it the way we want it. We're not gonna approve anything unless you do it the way we want it. Isn't that extremism? And I know it's the old adage of Democrats say one thing or say what the other side's doing. That means that they're really doing it. But it's never been so true as it is here, because again, we're seeing where they are obviously the ones that are, and I hate to use extreme because you should have your voice too, but we're going to hold up everything unless it's done our way. That seems a little bit more extreme than the things that we're asking for here.
that Republicans would have to do away with the extremism.
Yeah,
They
stop
would have to
spending
do
our money.
away with their policy writers. They would have to do away with their assault on women's reproductive freedom. And I don't know
Wow.
if the Republican conference is willing to do that, but it's my hope that we can get there. because that's what the American people expect. And by the
It'll
way,
probably be
as the
billions.
whip said, we've got some trust issues. We need to make sure that Republicans abide by the deal that their own leader, the Speaker of the House, negotiated. And we will do that moving forward.
Yeah, I think our commitment to bipartisanship was crystal clear back in June when we had 314 votes coming out of the House, almost a 50-50
I would think so.
split between Democrats and Republicans saying lots of things we don't like in this default compromise, but it's a compromise to make sure we
Who
don't
gives a
allow
shit what
MAGA
you don't like?
Republicans to drive our economy over the cliff. Here we are again today. And what we can say is that we will continue to work for the American people, to put the issues around lowering their costs of living, making sure that we are addressing the crisis that they want for our public schools. Their proposal was to cut 150,000 teachers from public schools
Good.
and to stop their march on a national abortion ban,
Good.
criminalizing healthcare for women and for doctors.
Abortion
So
isn't
we will
healthcare.
continue to put those priorities first. But when it comes to putting them first, making sure the American people are at the center of our work, we will do that in a way that is bipartisan if there.
Yes, sir. That's what it was 2 days ago. We can bring it up. Because usually when something like this happens, oh shit. We get a bump because all the agencies spend every dime so they can be first to have their hand out for the next one. So it often goes up when we have a shutdown like this. And yeah, it jumped about $60 billion from yesterday. So we're at $255,353 per U.S. taxpayer. Exactly. So we're at 33,122,235,900 and well, I can't even say it. It's fast, too fast. That's how quickly this is live. This is how quickly our national debt is increasing. Our deficit is going through the roof. It's almost $2 trillion. Almost $2 trillion. And this is our interest on debt, $710 billion.
There is any opportunity.
Anything change in that bill? It seems like you were speed reading. You almost characterized it that way. Anything they tucked in there you didn't expect or they had a twist?
We needed to create the time and space to be able to evaluate the bill.
Oh, but I thought you had to pass it to
extreme
see what
MAGA
was in it.
Republicans said that any legislation put before the House would only be done if there were at least 72 hours to review the legislation. That was the House Republican rule and the promise that was made by their speaker to the Congress and to the American people. And earlier today, at the 11th hour, this continuing resolution was dropped on the American people. And so, at minimum, we wanted to make sure, given the trust issues that exist, that we had the time and space to read the four corners of the agreement in order to
I'm sure you read
determine
it.
whether it met the needs of the American people. And when we read the four corners of the agreement, it was clear to us that this spending bill was a complete and
Hang on. So that's the Nancy Pelosi adage with Obamacare. We have to pass it so we can see what's in it. They don't read these damn bills. A staffer does, maybe, but they don't read these bills.
total victory for the American people and a total
They just
defeat
the rest of the people have to
for the
realize that it's
extreme
us against
MAGA
them.
Republicans. Let me also thank publicly Leader Schumer and the Senate Democrats, because part of the reason why we had the space to get to a place where we reached a bipartisan agreement in the House is because Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats have been working in a cooperative and bipartisan way for weeks in the Senate, setting forth the only pathway forward.
Oh, is that because
And
there's
as a
not enough
result of
senators
that,
from the
you had
America
House
First Party?
Democrats in alignment with Senate Democrats. Both of us were in alignment with Senate Republicans. All of us were in alignment with President Biden on behalf of the American people. You had the extreme MAGA Republicans on an island all by themselves. And as recently as yesterday, put forth a draconian bill that would have slashed and burned the ability of the federal government to meet the health, the safety, and the economic needs of the American people.
Good, because we have to take a different pathway. We have to take a different pathway. Patrick Kennedy is now a member for 2 months. The government should stop spending money. If you think the government should buy something for you, you need to evaluate where they get their money. Exactly. But they have to trick you into thinking that it's something it's not. So they tell you, oh, it's, it's this, that, and the other. And no, it comes out of your pocket. You work, and they take half of it. Because half of it, or probably even more at this point, goes to administrative fees. So them spending your money costs you money. So just buy it your damn self. I think this is telling. We have 20 votes in the poll. Government shutdown. Shut it down and get it right. 100%. It would be devastating. 0%. I think that's all you need to know. And yeah, I think we're all more right-leaning here. But again, there are many of us that should have an input and should have a say in whether or not our money is getting sent overseas, sent to Ukraine, sent to Africa, sent to Ecuador, sent to countries that hate us when we cannot take care of things here. Not anymore. Shut it down.
But
Lefty
largely
here,
as a
fuck
result
Ukraine.
of our unity,
You spelled Ukraine wrong, but that's because you're a lefty. There's an I in there. But thank you, Bri, for being a 3-month member of the meat market.
within the House Democratic caucus in fighting for everyday Americans and putting people over politics. And because Senate Democrats had set the stage, thanks to incredible leadership by Senator Schumer and his team in working in a bipartisan way with his Senate Republican colleagues, we were able to arrive at a place where the American people won.
Congressman Patrick said today that he expects that there would be Democrats in the instance of a motion to vacate that would vote to table it because that vote would be whether you want to.
I don't know, amazing. Honestly.
Do you see it that way at this point?
We haven't had a discussion about any hypothetical motion to vacate, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Do you think Speaker McCarthy did the right thing today in putting up this CR for a vote?
I think the House, led by Democrats, were able to accomplish the right thing on behalf of the American people.
I wanted to follow up on your commentary about speed reading the bill and making sure you could look at all 4 corners of the agreement. It's no secret that you and Speaker McCarthy have a mutual respect for each other. Do you think he, ignored his own 72-hour policy in order to make sure that it didn't give his members enough time to sort of, hijack this bill and give this bill a real shot of passing?
I have no idea, but we understood when Whip Clark and Chairman Aguilar and myself met with our leadership team in the House that we needed to create the time and space for every member of Congress to read the bill and be able to come to an informed conclusion as to what was the right thing to do for the American people. I don't know why this bill was dropped on the Congress at the 11th hour in terms of what dynamic was going on the other side of the aisle. But we knew that the right thing to do for the American people was to find a bipartisan path forward to avoid a catastrophic extreme MAGA Republican government shutdown, but make sure that we were doing it in a way that we didn't undermine the needs of the American people. And Catherine, appropriately, Whip Clark, made a motion to adjourn temporarily to create the time and the space for members of Congress in an intelligent way to read the four corners
Oh, that's
of the
rich
bill.
coming from you.
Chairman Aguilar convened the caucus to be able to do that and talk through what the provisions of the bill would actually do in terms of their implications for the American people. And I was able to spend a few minutes on the House floor.
So were
A
you
few
aware-
minutes?
Did you find out about this CR when everyone else did this morning? You had no tip off by the speaker that it was coming?
We went
You know that's it, and this is another one of the gamesmanship, another one of the bullshit they try and feed you. You knew that a CR was coming. You've been talking about it. You have it on all your computers. You were talking about it in the hearings. You knew that today was the government shutdown. You've let us all know more than once. How the hell did you not know that a continuing resolution was going to come up to the floor for a vote at some point today? Like, that's just disingenuous. It's so ridiculous. I hope so at some point, because we need more people that care about the United States first and political party second.
we did not see the text of the bill until about 5 or 10 minutes before the vote was actually called, which is why we needed to create the space for the American people and members of Congress on their behalf to evaluate.
Oh, this is on the question. Sorry, and then I'll let it play for a minute. This is on the question of why did they call for an adjournment? And they're trying to backtrack and now say that it was so that they could actually read the bill. Well, you knew the bill was coming. You're supposed to have been working on it all day together. Give me a break. Probably.
Whether we were able to get something over the finish line that both avoided a government shutdown and was consistent with the American values that House Democrats have been fighting for from the very beginning, and that did not contain a single poison pill or
It's going to
policy
be we the
rider
people versus
that the
all
extreme
of
MAGA
DC,
Republicans were trying
not
to
just the
jam down the throats
Democrats.
of the American people. Once we concluded that the bill that would be before us met the needs of the American people, would avoid a catastrophic government shutdown that the extreme MAGA Republicans were trying to visit on the American people, and didn't have a single ideological right-wing policy
Right,
rider, that it was clear how we were going to move forward.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. So I know
You gotta watch those right-wing policy riders.
Some of the extreme Republicans in the House, but you rarely talk about your relationship
Yep.
with Speaker McCarthy. He said you guys talked yesterday. Can you talk to me about?
Yeah, I don't know that there's anybody in DC I trust anymore.
Right now, what does that look like? Is there any tension?
Yep.
After everything you've been through this Congress.
I think as Democrats, we were able to make sure that we passed a bill that meets the needs of the American people. The bill was put on the floor. After evaluating it, we came to the conclusion that we were going to make sure that it passed, despite the fact that a majority of Republicans voted against their own bill, because it represented a path forward in a bipartisan way that made sense for everyday Americans.
We talked a lot about the American people, but what about Ukraine? Are you not afraid that it might have a negative impact on Ukraine's ability to fight against Russia?
Who gives a shit about Ukraine?
45 days?
As I mentioned earlier, we have to get to work on this issue. And that should be done sooner rather than later to ensure that we are providing the Ukrainian people with the resources necessary to continue to fight courageously.
Why do you care more about a foreign nation that's corrupt and hates us than you do about the American people and the extreme MAGA Republicans? We're not more American or more worthy than the Ukrainians?
And to defeat Vladimir Putin and Russia.
Sorry,
House
it's a
Republicans
little,
will have a choice in the next
it's
few
not
days
great.
when we reconvene on Monday. Are they going to stand up for freedom, democracy, truth, and the Ukrainian people? Or will they continue to bend the knee to the pro-Putin caucus in the House Republican Conference? Thank you, everyone.
Democracy and truth, or are you going to bend the knee to the pro-Russians in Congress? I don't think anybody's technically pro-Russian. I think we're just sick of this bullshit. So that was a press conference for the House Democrats spiking the football. Sorry, it pissed me off to no end. I had to get it out, guys. Had to get it out. Putin was handling it, don't worry. Yeah, Putin's going to win this no matter how much money we pour into it. Either you're with us or against us, spoken like a true Sith, or a communist. Or a communist. While we're being invaded, yes. Florida's filled with Ukrainian people. They got tons of money. It's why the Dems want more of them. It all funnels into their pockets. Yeah, and a lot of Ukraine is money laundering for the big guy. And we know that from his impeachment hearing the other day. So this is just going to continue. We have to keep pushing back. We have to be smart about how we're doing it. And we got to stand up and have our voices heard. We've been walked over way too long. And again, I think that we have some culpability in this, and we deserve some blame for it. But the way we evade that and escape that is we start making a markable difference. We start making a difference today. We start pushing back, and we start making it our country again. So with that, I'm very hungry. And we're streaming Sea of Thieves at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So, oh yeah. Well, it sounds like it, but the Senate still isn't voting on it. So, I can look real quick before we take off. Why they're in session, the speech debate clause isn't affected. How can they make claims or flat out lies like they do? Because there's no accountability for anything yet. There's no accountability for anything. Bill heads to the Senate. I still have bill heads to the Senate. House passes funding measure. Oh no, the stopgap bill does not include new aid for Ukraine. Does not include. Due to the objections of some conservatives. Well, those are the only ones that I care about. And Biden has warned that this would have serious consequences for the war. This is CNN, by the way, if you're wondering. I haven't seen anything from the Senate except for the fact that they weren't going to bring it up for a vote. Majority. Colorado senator is holding a final vote on stopgap bill over Ukrainian aid, sources say. So that's the most recent update 40 minutes ago. Senate leaders are trying to resolve the objection from Michael Bennet of Colorado to reach final vote tonight on a stopgap bill to keep the government open, according to two sources. Bennett, sources say, is concerned that the measure's lack of Ukraine aid. Senate leaders are working a statement to show their support for Ukraine, hoping that it will resolve the objection. I agree. Might be. So that's the last. There's one senator that's holding it up. So, and I believe Bennett's a Democrat. I would put money on Bennett's a Democrat, but of course they're not going to put it in there, which makes me think it's even more Democrat. Yeah, Senator Denver, Colorado, or Democrat from Colorado. He's in Denver, Colorado, his office. Senator since 2009, Michael Bennett. So that's the holdup. They want to give more money to Ukraine, or we can't make it happen, ladies and gentlemen. Senate will cut, guaranteed. I think so too. I think so too. But we can hope that they won't. So, term limits yesterday. Well, if the Senate cucks, they have to send it back to the House, though. If they change anything in the bill, so I don't think that there's. I think that there's still some fight left in them, but because that was a big hang up with the House, is that they weren't going to allow that. So hopefully they actually stand strong. I don't think for a second they will. I think this is all a game so that they can push it. But okay, we'll see what happens. All right, I gotta go get some food before we start streaming the last mission of Monkey Island for Sea of Thieves tonight. Me and Brian and whoever else wants to join us. Until then, you guys take care. If I see anything else on it, I'll be back. But yeah, thanks for listening to my rant and allowing me to relieve that pressure. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great day.